up, Winters? This is the 795. I am your host, Aaron. I'm a staff writer / social media guy for the Winters Expres, and also the host. And with me here, the first guest of the show, Curtis Stocking, also known as my uncle. Curtis, thank you for coming on the show.
Good meeting you, or seeing you again.
Oh, yes. We cross paths from time to time. But here we are in your beautiful house. Thank you for having me. And the show, it's going to be about different people in town, different organizations, nonprofits, local businesses, local people, local feel, just nice, keep you warm in your heart. Today we're going to be talking about the Wreath Project. So I do have a couple questions here, ready or not, but you're always ready.
I'm always ready.
Always, here we go.
Yeah.
So out the gate here, what is the Wreath Project to people who may not know?
The Wreath Project is we honor our veterans. It's time we remember our veterans and then teach our youth about what a veteran's all about. And that is through the Wreath Project, right? Mm-hmm. And the Wreath Project is we collect funds throughout the year to buy wreaths. And actually, it's bows. It's bows.
Bows, okay.
We do bows. We call it the Wreath Project, but it's bows. Mm-hmm. And these are them. They're beautiful. And we place these bows at every single veteran grave site marker at the Sacramento National Valley Cemetery.
The one in Dixon.
Yeah, in Dixon, mm-hmm. Right off Midway Road between Dixon and Vacaville. And we place these bows on every single grave site. And we've done it for many years. And that's what it's all about, to remember our veterans.
And this is something that, did you start it or something that you joined along the way?
We started the movement here. How it got started was, my wife and I, Susie, my wife.
Oh, yeah, Aunt Susie, her.
Aunt Susie,
yeah.
Aunt to you.
Very good.
Wife to me,
yes,
right? Yeah. And so we were watching the national news story one night, getting ready to go out to dinner with some friends of ours, and the story that night was this couple that owned a Christmas tree farm back in the East Coast. Every year for many years, they'd always have extra wreaths left over. And so they would go out, their family would go out to the Arlington National Cemetery and place wreaths at the very old part of Arlington, mm-hmm. the part that was forgotten, the part that was, no one ever visited because they were old. And so they went out there, and the story that year, that night on the news was that they decided to just let the world know that they were going to do this project. Mm-hmm. And so people could come out and bring wreaths and then set them out on Arlington. And so I think they said about 500 people showed up.
Really?
And, yeah, it was really amazing, and they were placing those wreaths. And I thought the Sacramento Valley National Cemetery there in Dixon was brand new. Mm-hmm. This was December. The first burial was in September, so only a couple of months before. And so I thought, well, God, we had to start that tradition here, mm-hmm. right here, and we could do instead of just the old part of the cemetery, maybe we can do all of it, mm-hmm. and then maybe we can do all of it forever.
Forever.
Right? That was my thought, right?
So that's what inspired it. And
that's what inspired it, and so that's how it started.
So you and Aunt Susie started it.
Yes.
Was there anybody else involved, or you guys just spearheaded it, started fundraising? And
we spearheaded it. We went out to dinner that night with a couple other couples, and I told them about the story and about how we had to do that. And I go, hey, anybody in for that? And they go, anybody want to help? Is what I said, right? Mm-hmm. And they go, yeah, we'll help.
Why not?
I go, okay, well, I'm going to go out and find out how many we need. Mm-hmm. Because, the first burial was September, and here it is December.
Do you recall what year this was?
It was 17 years ago.
Okay.
You can do the math.
I don't. Right. Let the viewers and listeners do the math. Okay. I'm not going to do it on the
spot. I told them, they said, yeah, we're in. I said, okay, I'm going to go out there tomorrow, Monday, and find out how many we need. Mm-hmm. And I thought, God, we might need 20, 30, right? Whatever. Can't be that many, right? So I go out there, and anyhow, we needed 300.
300 wreaths.
And so I called everybody, and I was a little blown away. I'm like, wow, 300, right?
Yeah.
And so I called everybody and said, hey, it's 300. Hey, okay, well, let's go find wreaths. Mm-hmm. And so we did. We went all around, and it was only like a week or so before Christmas. And so everywhere we went, everybody was out of wreaths already. Mm-hmm. We wanted fresh wreaths.
Right.
And so one buddy of mine, Jay Peterson was his name, he called me up and he goes, hey, I found 100 at Walmart for $1.
No way.
But they're plastic. And like, we're going to go out there in 2 days. I'm like, it didn't sound right, but we go, get them, right? Because we want to do 100%.
We'll have something.
Because we do 100% forever, right?
But you wanted them to be real authentic, because this is real.
This is real. This is real whatever.
The real McCoy.
Pines and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we bought those. So then I was feeling a little pressure, like, God, we couldn't find another. We couldn't even find another 100 to
Just
buy.
Sold out.
And so I sent an email to anybody I ever knew, like,
a lot of people.
You want to help and what have you. And so this one guy called me up and said, hey, I saw that email. That's cool. He was a veteran. He goes, what do you need? And I go, well, we technically need 200 more, because we had 100 fresh ones and 100 fake ones. And I said, we really need 200 more. And he goes, okay, well, let me see what I can do. And then about 4 o'clock that afternoon, he called me back and he goes, hey, how many do you need? And I go, we still need 200.
We're down for 200.
Right.
Oh, man.
And so he goes, okay, well, let me see what I can do, and I'll see you out there in the morning. Because we were going to go out there the next day, Saturday morning, at 8 o'clock and place a wreath. So we went out there, and it's one of those really cool mornings. It was foggy, it was cold, a little misty, and the cemetery is so brand new. I mean, most of it was all mud, and the offices were portable trailers.
So it's not what it is today. That is one of the most beautiful cemeteries, and such how well it's maintained today is such a tribute. Its perfection is a tribute to the veterans.
It's just beautiful, and it was beautiful then in a different way, but it was just all new, right? 2 months old. Yeah, we were placing those 100. So then these 2 pickups show up, pulling up, and they had 2 big boxes on them. And I'm like, I wonder who that is, what that is all about. And it was a guy, his name was Rick Martindale from Vacaville. And he pulls up, and he had Sylvieville Christmas Tree Farm make 200 fresh boughs, even though we were doing wreaths, but he had to make 200 of these fresh boughs. Overnight. And he paid for them, and he brought them.
Wow.
And that was like the most moving. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
And so we placed 100% that year, and I don't know, it was just neat. It was foggy, 10 of us. It took us longer to place those 300 than it does now to us place 30,000, because we have so much more help.
That was my next question. How many wreaths? So you went from 300 to how many wreaths do you place? It's just out there at the Dixon site?
Just the Dixon site.
30,000.
We placed over 30,000 this year. And there's that many. That's how many veterans are buried out there.
These aren't just wreaths. These are human beings that are buried there.
These are human.
That's 30,000 lives sacrificed for the country.
Yeah.
When you mentioned education earlier, is there an aspect of the Wreath Project that educates younger people, or is it just the act of putting the boughs and wreaths down that kids can maybe learn from, like the sacrifices made? Or is there another aspect?
I think it's the act. Because a lot of families come out there with their children, and they're placing the wreaths of the boughs, and we just say, hey, take 1 or 2 at a time and read about the person. Even go on the internet and find out who that person was, right?
Yeah.
And those families bring their young children, of all ages, and so that's the education.
Yeah.
That young family is coming out, those young kids are coming out there, and they're understanding, I think, really the sacrifices that our veterans did. And so there's no formal education, but that is the education.
What's been the reaction from families out there, or from people that are Like, what's the response been like over the years?
Just super, very emotional. I mean, a lot of the people that come out have a loved one that was either a veteran, let alone a veteran that's buried out there, right? And so a lot of people have a loved one out there. Yeah, so the response has just been spectacular.
That's good to hear. Over 17 years, just getting stronger. And how much money do these 30,000 wreaths or boughs require? Because it's year-long fundraising.
Yeah.
How much money needs to be raised?
I'll kind of answer it kind of lengthy, but not too long, right?
I appreciate that.
So the same people that donated the first year are still donating every year.
And what's that organization?
RememberAvet.net.
RememberAvet.net.
RememberAvet.net. Most of our donations are $10. That's what it costs us to get a wreath, pay for the transportation, and everything else there. So if you can do the math, $10 times
30,000.
I think it's $9 times 30,000. It's almost $300,000, and that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but God, it's so worthwhile, right? Because, and again, most of our checks are $9, $10. We get a lot of envelopes in the mail of people, a whole bunch of $10 checks, because people have gone to their neighbors, their people they work with, tell them about it, and they, and so people will literally send an envelope with 20, 30 $10 checks.
It's a beautiful thing.
And that's why it keeps going, I think.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to honor a veteran, because that's why you and I are here right now.
It's the least we can do. What sort of impact, or why is it so important for the Wreath Project to exist and for this tradition to take place every year?
I think just to make sure the future generations continue understanding what veterans are all about, what freedom is all about, right? I mean, it's kind of a cliche, right? Like, freedom, I don't know what
freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free, right? Yeah. But it's so true. Hopefully that's what it's all about, right? So that generations, we know it. I know it. Even I wasn't a veteran. I didn't serve in the armed forces, but I appreciate it, right? So I'm hoping that it impacted me, even at my age. Yeah, right?
I can still impact.
It impacted me, and I hope it impacts the younger generation as much as it impacted me, because I met veterans over the process of going out and talking about the program, whether it's the Seroptimus Lions, Rotaries Club, just a whole lot of clubs, right? Where I've met so many veterans. I don't know. It just impacts us, and we take it all for granted. Unfortunately, we have to be reminded about things a lot of times, right? And so if you kind of forget, well, you got to be reminded about why are you free today. And I think I hope that's what the program really does, and I think it does too. I mean, this year we had a few thousand people show up, and
that's how many people are volunteering
to place the boughs on the deal, and so. To me, that means a lot, because that's that many more thousand people are reminded. Not that they need, maybe not any of them need to be reminded, but
it's easy to take it for granted, not because you're ungrateful, but I've always known my parents home for Christmas. My mom and dad haven't been overseas fighting battles or anything like that. I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have my family all with me during Christmas.
Yep.
Seeing what the Wreath Project's turned into today in 2022, I feel like it's made such a huge impact, and it all started from a news story you saw on the East Coast. Yep. Like, could you imagine that it turned into what it is today? Was this ever like your intention for it to get this big, or like is it just blowing your mind that it's become such a success and such an impact in such a positive way?
The only thing blowing my mind is that it's grown so fast. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's been good, because I think all of us Americans just appreciate freedom,
Absolutely.
Right? And so, no fundraising, no project is easy, but this has been easy because we appreciate it.
People
right?
care,
and people care, right? People care, and the second year, the guy that brought those 200 boughs out there. Because I told those 10 people, I'm going to do this forever, right? Never believing that it would be this big, right? That I thought it would be like 50 people, maybe 100 the second year. maybe 500. I never thought it'd be big.
But forever was your intention.
Forever was my intentions, right? And so, and this is our 17th year this year. And so that same guy called me in December of the following year and said, "Hey, how come I haven't heard from you?" Right? And I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry, but I just thought if we got 300, and that was a little pent up demand a little bit. So I thought, crap, we'll have 500 this year. It's going to be hard, right?" And I feel bad even saying that, right? But how is it hard to honor our veterans, right? I said, I'll go out there tomorrow and find out how many we need. And so I went out there, and it was 1,100 the second year. And so I called him up, Rick, and I said, "Hey, Rick, it's 1,100. He goes, "Wow." He goes, "You know what? I pay $9 a bow, and that's $10,000. I really don't have time to help you."
Yeah.
Which I get.
Yeah.
But he said, "I'll give you $5,000 if you figure out how to get the other $5,000." I said, "How do you turn that down, right?"
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I said, "Okay, I'm good." So I'm going to do that. So me and my wife, wrote letters to the editors, different papers, back in the day, the local papers. Now the funds come from literally all over the country.
Really?
Because people have loved ones out there and they know, or people heard about it. So it literally comes all over. But originally it was Vacaville-Dixon was about where all the funds came from. And but anyhow, so I sent to everybody what we're doing. Our mailbox just became full of envelopes with checks.
Really?
Very few company-sponsored ones, but like Travis Credit Union, sent $1,000, and Anheuser-Busch.
That's awesome.
There was a few good ones, but most everything was these $9 checks, right, or envelopes. And so I had raised $10,000 in 10 days without his $5,000. And I had to call him up and tell him I don't need it.
That could have been vacation money or something like that,
Vacation for the veterans.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so, but yeah, that was the second year. Then every year has just been, just more and more. But it's easy because people want to support it.
Does that ever get old? Just the sheer amount of checks and money and support that comes in every year?
To me it doesn't, but my wife handles all that.
Oh, so that explains it. What's been your favorite part facilitating this year in and year out?
You know what? The letters that come with the checks. A lot of elderly people donate because they have their spouse out there, seems like it, or I don't know, there's some connection there. And so when we get the envelope in the mail, you can almost tell by the writing, it's an older person.
Right.
And so many envelopes have a very patriotic stamp or patriotic stationery, and we've actually kept we still have, I don't know why, but all the envelopes and the the handwritten notes like "thank you," my dad, my wife, my husband, my grandpa is buried out there, or was a veteran, even though not buried out there, but is a veteran, and the writing is just amazing. And I don't know, those thank yous are just we don't need a thank you, but those are just like, that's what keeps me going. Yeah, I think
the affirmation, and just it. You can tell the age of someone by the fact that they're doing a handwritten letter. Exactly. Or even know how to stamp and mail it out. I feel like that's a lost art these days, but it's true. Just that they took the time to write and just appreciate you and send the love in a letter is pretty. That's got to be pretty cool to get.
Because the impact, it's not the veteran only was a sacrifice. Although the veteran did the ultimate sacrifice in some places and a lot of sacrifices, but the families,
absolutely,
and the families are big, and that's really, I think the families appreciate the the whole movement. I think on it.
I'd say it is the nice tradition you've created.
Yeah.
And how can people get involved and help out in this tradition, this Wreath Project?
A lot of ways. Donations is always important, right? So that we can buy more boughs for the following year. But just spreading the word's huge. Letting other people know.
Word of mouth.
Our website, rememberavet.net, is our website. Okay. And we do fundraisers throughout the year, a golf tournament, just a fundraiser.
Yes, the golf tournament.
Make sure we get the money. Yeah, you golf.
Yeah, and, not very well, but.
And and just spreading the word, really. letting other people know about it.
Where-
But, coming out and placing the wreaths. I mean,
Yeah.
we need thousands of people to help place the wreaths. We need, big, strong guys to unload the boxes and wreaths.
Boy, those
I mean,
guys.
there's a lot of volunteer that we need, right, to do the whole and then picking them all up. We leave the boughs out there a little over a month, and then we have to go pick them all up, right? And that's a project of its own, right?
30,000.
So there's a lot of events that people can come and help, right? That doesn't cost anything. Just come out and help.
Just a little time.
Right.
How can people stay up to date? Is it all like the dates you guys go out there being posted on your website, or is there social media, emails, or
Kind of all of the above, but the best thing is go on the website and then
rememberevet.net?
rememberingthat.net, and then sign up to get a newsletter. So my wife Susie, she sends at least a letter out at least once a month.
Okay.
Kind of updates on what's upcoming, how you can help. When we're picking up, when we're placing, how to send donate, what fundraise, all of the above, right?
Where to mail the donations and all that.
Yeah,
All
and so
that
if you
stuff.
go on the newsletter, there it's an email newsletter, and you'll know everything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get one more look at this bad boy. You can't smell it, but
I can smell
nice
it.
and, nice and piney.
Right? I know, isn't that nice?
Awesome. Well, what a first episode of 795, talking about the Wreath Project. Uncle Curtis, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Aaron. You're great.
Oh, I
All righty.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Support the Wreath Project. Rememberevet.net.
That's it.
Being grateful. Remind ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.